The difference between an inspection and diagnostic is the inspection tells you something's wrong, diagnostic tells you what's wrong. So the inspection is flat rate, usually takes an hour and a half, 2 hours. Diagnostic is billed $145 an hour for industrial, $165 an hour for construction. So if we come out and we got a leak and we've got to clean a bunch of stuff to figure out where it's coming from, the inspection will say, hey, we've got a hydraulic leak. The diagnostic will say, we cleaned up the area, brake cleaned it, this is where the leak's coming from, and then the quote would come from that. Pretty much when you start with your inspections, it's all visual. First thing I always look at is tires. Tires is the number one thing that you can look at on a forklift. So you got cushion tires, which are your warehouse tires, and then you've got solid pneumatics. Cushion tires are flat up here, and they're much lower profile. When it gets down to the numbers, so the numbers for the sizes, if it gets down to the numbers, it already needs to be done. If it's got a little bit above it, you're looking for stuff like this, chunks missing out of it that need to be done. Now, for some of these customers that have out on pavement, you might have a little bit of wearing on the edges here because the asphalt will chew that up, but really when it starts getting chunked up in the middle, that's when they need to be done, or if they're worn down. One of the things you want to look for on the rear tires, especially if they have tread, it's easier, like on the solid pneumatic tires, it's easier to see. But if the tire tapers inwards, your kingpin, so it's kind of like ball joints on a car, if they're tapered inwards at all, if you got more wear on the inside of the tire than the outside, you can automatically tell them you need tires for one, and you need a kingpin job. Do the kingpin job now before you wear out the axle, because if the kingpins wear through the bearing and you wear into the axle, it's an additional $1,500 to $2,000. So your visual is just you going around looking at boots, tires. The next thing I'll look at is cylinders and hoses. So the hoses are easy to see. Right on the front of the unit, you've got your auxiliary hoses, usually a side shift. Sometimes there's 2 sets of hoses for a fork positioner, and then you've got your thick hose here. You're looking for dry rot, cracking, wear on the hoses themselves. Sometimes up here, they'll start rubbing on a certain spot, so you'll have a chunk missing up here. So you want to look through the length of the hose, like right here, I can see this. So if I was pointing this out to a customer, I'd be like, hey, this thing got hit by something. Somebody ran some material, and then this one here is worn down, and as I'm feeling it, the back side, if you peek the camera around to the right side here, the back side of this hose is showing wire. So if we come out for a PM, instead of paying for a service call, we'll do the PM. We can do the hoses while we're there. That way you don't have to pay for the service call. We can get it all done in one shot, get you taken care of. Then you've got your small hoses down here, which can usually get damaged by material if it slips off the forks or what have you. So you're looking for wear down here. And that's pretty much it for the hoses. Everything else will come up on the full inspection that we do, where we're looking up underneath it. But as far as you guys out just doing a visual inspection, the hoses that are visible on the front is what you're going to be looking for.
What about slack?
If the hoses are loose, so the first thing, forks are sitting on the ground and the hoses are slack, usually that indicates a chain adjustment. Because when you pick up the hoses, when you pick up the forks, the hoses are going to get tight. They shouldn't be like that.
Correct.
So easy chain adjustment, takes 30 minutes. Then we can adjust your hoses if they're adjustable. If they're not adjustable, you would have to replace them.
And that wears the forks down.
Yep.
When the
Anytime, if you ever hear this, you lift them up. You ever hear that adjustment?
Okay.
30 minutes. We can do it during the PM. I think 145, right? I think it's 67.50 is what it would take. So half hour for us to adjust the hoses. That'll save you $700 in forks. The vertical side of the forks, if you hear that clanking, you can automatically go and tell them that your fork should be this thick all the way down the unit. And they're usually, if you look at them, right here is where they will be worn down. So it'll be like skinny, and then it'll get thicker because it's clanking right there.
That's
on
one of those crucial parts too, right?
That's where the rigidity is. The
Correct.
weakest part of the fork is the thinnest part.
Correct.
So if that's the thinnest part, that's where you're going to have issues. Other minor things you can look for is making sure you got your latches on the forks. If somebody were like, yeah, they were just out for a PM, I'm looking at grease points. So anything that moves is a grease point. Your side shift moves. So usually right on top of your side shift, you should see fresh grease on there. You can see if they say I was out for a PM, I'm looking for there. Usually your tilt cylinders will have it. This one doesn't have it, so you can't really see there, but your steering always has it. So right on your tie rods in here, you got a grease fitting in there, and then on the top and bottom of your kingpins, there's a grease fitting right on there. So that should be fresh. If that's not fresh, if it looks dry as shit, you can tell them they're coming out, they're not greasing it. That job right there,
That gets missed all the time, doesn't it?
$1 of grease, $5 of grease will cost you a $1,500 kingpin job, because your counterweight weighs almost as much as the capacity of the forklift. So this is a 3,000 pound capacity. That's a 3,000 pound counterweight sitting on top of the tires at all time. The next thing I look at, and this is just a very quick visual for you guys, I'm looking at all the cylinders. So I'm taking my flashlight and I'm looking for wet. Buildup is also another sign. So I got a little bit of buildup around here. It's not really wet, but you're looking for stuff that's wet. And if you can sit here and look, which this one is dry, if you can look at the rod and wipe it and you're wet, you can tell them you got a leaking cylinder there. You've also got your 3 main lifts. So usually the way I tell is this cylinder's dry. This cylinder's dry. If you had a leak, you would have a wet spot.
Gravity, right?
Exactly.
Right.
It always leaks from the highest point down. The next one, I always look at the bottom, because gravity. Look at the bottom of the tilts, and you're gonna check to see if the tilts are wet. And then the last one is your steering and also side shift. So on the back side over here, you'll just peek inside the hole here. You're looking at the bottom of the steer cylinder, and you wanna see if it's wet underneath there. You'll be able to see the buildup if it is. The side shift cylinder here, sometimes it helps if you lift it up, just so it's at eye level. And you can give it a little throttle. Your side shift, you kind of got to work around the forks. But in this case, you'd be looking up underneath right where the side shift rod meets the cap. So this one is dry. If it was wet, you'd be looking, sometimes you'll see that it's wet here. It can be coming from an O-ring here, and I'll always confirm. If this is dry and this is wet, you either need an O-ring, this might need to be tightened or something. Now I'm looking at this hose here.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, right there. It got hit by something. So that's a easy, you need that hose if it pops. And I always say, when I'm talking to hoses on these people, I'm saying, if it's a lift hose, if your big hose is damaged, I say that your load is coming down as fast as it can come out of that hose. Side shift is important, but all that's gonna happen really is you're gonna be 15 feet up in the air and you're gonna have a fountain of hydraulic fluid come on top here. So it's all on what's important to you. A worker's complaint is much more expensive than a set of hoses.
Safety first.
That's it. After that, so cylinders, so we're looking at tires, hoses, cylinders, and then really we just get into the checking the fluids and seeing when the last time the PM was done. Now on where the latches are, most of them are on the hood or on the front if they lift up. Some, like Toyota, is always up under, the newer Toyotas will be here. Some Toyotas, there's a lever up under here that you gotta pull. So look up underneath the steering column to get the hood up. But essentially you're looking, just a general inspection, you wanna look at the valve cover, is do I have a lot of buildup? You're gonna have, so you see it's a little bit of wet on top there. That's your oil cap. That's not really anything that that we can do. Maybe an O-ring there, but that's not anything I would mention to the customer.
Sure.
Your battery, you should always have crimped terminals. So these are crimped terminals. If you ever have the 2 bolts, sit there and watch the customer just wiggle it. Every time the shit wiggles, and you'll be like, that will cause you a $200 starter, will turn into a $400 job with labor, or we can put $30 in crimp fittings on it when we come out for the PM. Your oil dipstick is here. You'll always be able to find it on the engine. So I always set myself up. You'll pull it once, wipe it, don't even look at it, because it's probably always gonna be off.
Just like a car.
Yep, yep. Just wipe it, put it back in there, and then check it again. So we do a PM, it should be at the level. It should not be over full, it shouldn't be under full. If it's down to the mark on the low side, it's a quart low. So you tell them these things are only 5 quarts low, you're 20% low on your oil, and you're running the hell out of this forklift. It's not good for it. The next thing you look at is if you take a flashlight to your coolant, you can see where your coolant's at. I can see here that my coolant is right here.
Right?
So yep, so full, add, we always benchmark. Every time we come, we put it at the full line. And that way, if any tech comes out and it's not at that benchmark, I say, I got a problem. This thing here, I can see this oil cap. Now, if it's hot, if this unit's been ran at all, and you'll be able to tell, do not pop this. This will cause a massive leak and you'll burn the hell out of yourself. But I'll take it off and I'll look and make sure that the seal is good here and that the radiator fluid is good. Your hydraulic fluid, your forks always have to be on the ground. You got your hydraulic dipstick there. It's always on the right-hand side. And you can see we're like right about there. You can wipe it, put it in and check it, but hydraulic fluid usually doesn't. Yep, so we're perfect on hydraulic fluid. So this thing doesn't have a hydraulic leak. If one of those cylinders that you guys inspected were leaking, you would see that be low.
Sure.
The one thing nobody ever touches is the transmission filter. This is where we've gone out, customers got a slip in transmission. We go out, put a $10 filter in it, transmission starts working, and we just saved the day, saved them a $3,000, $3,000 or $4,000 job. This rod comes out, so it gets a little difficult. Some plates just come right out. This one here is one of the more difficult ones, especially when you've got a cover. But it just pops up. They always mount from the front and then pop up through the back. And you can check the oil. I always say if the dipstick for the transmission says check when engine is hot, it usually means the engine needs to be running when you check the fluid. If it doesn't, you check it when it's off. So we'll check this and it's spot on and it's nice and red. If it's
pink or...
if it's pink, red, you're good. If it's brown, it smells burnt, it needs a flush. There's also a transmission filter on these. And another thing you can look at, I'll go around the other side, but you can keep your camera on this one.
Yep.
Your inching pedal, so this plunger, see how wet we are up top here?
Yeah.
That inching seal needs to be done. So you can show the customer, even this leak that's sitting here is wet, but you can show the customer, say, see the nice glistening, you got a nice leak here. Transmissions are not cheap. This is an easy fix most of the time.
And that's what the guys are calling
The inching
pedal.
inching plunger seal
Yeah.
for the inching pedal is there. Now these Yales, I don't know if you're gonna be able to see it, but way down at the bottom in that hole, there's a black filter. It's down at the bottom. And that never gets replaced. I'm trying to get you the light. But it's at the very bottom of this thing. These older Yale, they call them the TG and RG because this is a GLC 030, TG or RG or AF, AV, it's all the same thing. You look at that transmission, say it doesn't have a filter, it's at the bottom there. So we know when we come out and do them that they need to get done. Most of the people you'll go to where we're not working on the lift, that filter's never been changed because it's not something that you look at. So it's an easy sell that says you've been paying for a PM, all they've done is air filter your whole life. You've got 7,000 hours on this and it's probably got the original transmission filter. So,
you're talking about the old cap. Now,
yeah.
two things I'm always, I don't know what makes the counterweight have to be removed with radiator type jobs. Blown head. That's right. You're right.
From the unit overheating, and you can unscrew it. Look at the bottom of it. If it's milky, looks like a milkshake, guarantee you got a blown head gasket. And then you start it up. You just want to hear it. If it sounds like it's misfiring, if it's hard to start, and you give it full throttle and it starts, it's almost always a mixture issue or it's the diaphragm on top of the carburetor. So that's an easy.
Now, I don't necessarily know what
sell.
I know what a misfire feels like in my car. And I don't know what
You'll hear it
You
with
should
this.
hear a smooth running engine. If it's
Correct.
pitting and puttering,
Oh, okay.
you have a problem. Now, when you go to lower these hoods, this one here has a prop. So you just pull it, lower this thing down. Sometimes it'll get caught on here. So you got to kind of walk around, reach through it, what have you. Sometimes they have a shock where when you pull it up enough, the shock will get locked. So you just got to pop the shock out of the way and it'll go down. So that way when you guys come out here, and you can always say, hey, I'm just a salesman. I'm doing a brief inspection because I know how to do a very brief inspection. And the only other thing is the brakes. So on this one here, it's super easy to see the brake fluid reservoir. Sometimes you got to pull the whole freaking kick panel down to see it. But this one here, your brake reservoir is right here. So it's the same thing. You can take your light, shine it. I'm full. It's all the way up here. If the brake fluid's low, then what you might do, and this is getting excessive, but it shows how far we're willing to go for a free 15 minutes. These things drive from the front. So if I'm low, when I pulled this floor plate, I'm going to be looking at the master cylinder, which if you just push this, you'll be able to see where your master cylinder's at. If I wipe up underneath it and it's dry, almost guaranteed your leak is down in the wheel. And you can show them with this test here, it's a brake test, so they drive from the front. So if I turn hard left, my left wheel's essentially staying still. My right wheel's going around in a circle. I hit the brakes. That's testing the right wheel's brakes. Then I do a right turn and I test the left wheel. If it doesn't do, it's usually about a half circle. You should go about a half circle and then stop. If it doesn't stop at a half circle and it just keeps going around, you say your brake fluid's low and you have no brakes on this side. Your left side is compensating for all your right side. So we can come out for a brake job. And when we do your PM, say the service call, we'll do a PM and the brake job. But this is the test. And your brake lever is always going to be here or a kick. For Toyotas, they have a lever up here. And you ain't got to go fast. Just the basic. About halfway. Go like this. You're good. You get on some, you'll just keep going around and around and around. There's no brakes. It's wet. All your shoes are wet, so it'll kind of, like they'll be like, oh, I have brakes. Well, your left side is braking everything, but if you want to isolate it, do your left turn, right turn, and you'll be able to see it. Other than that, you're just looking at basic lights. Make sure your strobe works. If it has a strobe, your light switch will be here. You can turn the lights on. On this one here, my right side works, my left side doesn't. So say we've got these in our truck, we can replace them when we come out. We've got a price sheet. You'll be able to show them the price sheet that we have and tell them what the cost is. But that's a pretty basic inspection. When we come out for the PM, we'll give you a 100% thorough inspection, and we include all of the pictures of the issues that we see, so that when we send you a quote, for one, we'll prioritize it, saying this is what you need to do now, what you need to do later. You may not need to do this at all. Our job is to tell you what's wrong. Your job is to tell us what you want to do, and we'll make recommendations to help you make that decision.